Hi, I'm David. Welcome to my channel, My Yard Sale. Hey, today I want to talk about my Apple Watch. I want to talk about three things that can make Apple Watch so much better. And of course, they have to be thinking about this, but I think they just don't care. One thing to make Apple Watch better, they should add a glucose monitor to the Apple Watch. They've got all these sensors and all this technical capabilities, and yet Dexcom can add glucose monitors, but Apple can't add a glucose monitor to an Apple Watch. A glucose monitor on an Apple Watch would make millions of people more healthy, potentially save millions of lives. It would be beneficial so many ways that I can't even explain it. If you have any kind of blood glucose levels, you would know exactly how important a blood glucose monitor on an Apple Watch would be. So a blood glucose monitor would be one thing that would make the Apple Watch a million times better. A second thing that would make it a million times better, if they put a little tiny sensor on the watch, anywhere on the watch. It could be on this little crown head thing or actually buried underneath this watch face. If they put a sensor underneath there or in there that collected the tiniest bit of solar power to power even a small amount of the watch, it would make this watch so much easier and so much better to use. That would just make the watch so much more worth it. I'm sure the investment would be tiny. The space on the watch would be tiny. They could actually add space to the size of the watch to include a sensor like that, and it would actually make sense. The third thing that I love about this watch and hate about this watch, I love the access that this watch has to my health stuff. It tracks my steps. It can track things for me. The hard part is the access, the data access is almost impossible. They use these face galleries on this watch that are ridiculous. They want to use Minnie Mouse and Mickey Mouse and gender bullshit that I don't care about. Like they want to have, flowy colors and exciting, vibrant colors, all the bullshit that I don't care about. I just want to watch face that gives me access to the data that I need. And the few that do actually offer the data access that I need, it's not enough data access. It's not customizable. The watch faces on this watch, they suck. You can't get access to the data that you want or need. And quite frankly, it feels like it's measured so that I can't get access to it on purpose. I don't know. So those are three things that Apple should get back to work and get these things fixed, because it would make this watch so much more useful, so much better, and they wouldn't have to rely on all the fluff and marketing bullshit to try to sell these watches. They could actually focus on the utilization and the use and making people's lives better instead of what fashionable color that they're going to release. Their sky blue fuchsia color that the next phase is going to get, because most of us don't care about that. I'm happy with the old silver and the black ones, the black watches. I'm happy with those. And quite frankly, if I need more than that, I'll buy a thing to, I'll buy like a face cover to put the watch in to flare up my style. I don't need that. I just need Apple to get focused on not the way it looks, but the way it works and the functionality, because that's what they're supposed to be good at. But I don't think they're good at that now. I don't think they're good at anything, actually. And I'm waiting for some company to come along and realize all this and take the market share away and just make a better product than what Apple produces. Because Apple, I just don't, I don't think I would buy Apple stock at this point, because I don't have the faith in the company continuing to grow and making things better. It just seems like they're basically riding on the coattails of the old company and hoping that they can design just enough technology to fake people into continue to buy stuff. I'm almost to the point where I don't want to be faked out anymore. Even with my last iPad, I bought an iPad and I'm not unhappy with it. I like the iPad, but I'm pretty seriously considering Google alternatives or Samsung alternatives. I prefer the Apple software, but at this point, I would be willing to take a look at Android because I just don't feel like Apple's got the future in their sights. Anyways, I didn't really necessarily want to hate on Apple this entire post, but I feel like somebody needs to do it. But these guys need to get focused on making this Apple Watch more usable, better, and just a more important part of our lives. Considering the fact we wear these watches 24 hours a day when they're not dead, it makes a lot of sense to have a lot of time and just effort invested in keeping these things going. So again, number one, a solar collector on this watch, even the tiniest, smallest solar collector would make a lot of sense. Number two, access to the data would make a lot of sense. And number three, a blood glucose monitor. Those three things would change people's lives worldwide, not even just in the US, but worldwide. You would think that these would be three priorities that Apple would be focused on, but nope, they're worried about what color they're going to try to sell you and what bullshit software they're going to try to sell you in the application, in the actual system. You need to get back to work on focusing on what changes people's lives. Anyways, I hope this is interesting. If you agree, do me a favor, give me a thumbs up. If you like posts like this, do me a favor and subscribe. And if you are subscribed, thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.